Welcome to my taxi.
All right, so the movie's such a freaking blast, and you pushed this since development. I mean, you're one of the few people in the crew that sort of carry it through development, production, and you're doing this now while putting it out. Does that take away from at any point while you're shooting it, looking at the size of like doing like, I can't wait to shoot this? Are you able to? I wonder of all the cool things you got to do, was there one that you
in this movie
in
that,
this
I,
one
that I got
particular?
to do? There's a scene. There's a scene where Deadpool is. I don't want to give it away. So there was a scene where Deadpool's severely injured, and that's a scene that myself and Rhett and Paul, the other writers on the movie, and we've been together for 10 years doing Deadpool stuff. We were all pretty excited to see that one come to life at some point, and it did. So that one was fun, because it's not every day you get a scene that is, that's 10 pages long in a comic book movie. Usually they're really fast, but this one just sort of escalates and gets more and more intense as we go along. So.
But usually the question when you do this, when you do a sequel, is do you take into consideration sort of the pressure of living up to the fans' expectations? But you've been living with this for so long.
Yeah.
I wonder how do you deal with like, okay, now I gotta top myself. Besides satisfying a whole bunch of people that are gonna go to the
my
theater.
Expectations are pretty high for this sort of thing. So I just really try to go out there and make sure that the audience is experiencing a character that's having fun on the screen. That's the one thing that Deadpool gets to do that where the other comic book characters don't necessarily get to enjoy all the time because they're always saving the world. Deadpool's far too selfish to save the world. So he's always trying to be a better person, but just like
slightly,
just incrementally. So that's fun to watch. That's fun to watch somebody who sort of goes through life with nothing to lose. And I just wanted to make sure that was on the page and that was on the screen. And in order to get Deadpool there, you have to take everything away from him, which is always difficult, So going forward from here, if we're lucky enough to make more of these movies, I think you'll see that Deadpool's more working within a group dynamic or paired up with someone, making their problem his problem. So that's probably how it's going to go. Because Deadpool works great when you have an adult in the room, and in this movie, Cable is the adult and Deadpool's the child.
So let's talk about the adult, because I know Josh Brolin is not necessarily him. He's not necessarily as an adult. No. So how was sort of working with him and forcing him into that role and watching him struggle?
Well, Deadpool. I mean, sorry, Cable is a very serious business, and you need to have that, a character that comes into this universe and he's not winking. He's not there to have fun. He's not there to make jokes, and that's what works so great with Deadpool. You need somebody who's counterpoint to him. If everybody's out there sort of breaking the fourth wall or making jokes, it wouldn't work. It's only Deadpool that plays by those rules. So Josh is like a heavyweight actor. He's one of those guys that came in and he just kind of, the first line he says, you're just like, okay, you're Cable. Yes, this is perfect. So we were thrilled. We were thrilled to have that presence on set. And also he put the time in. The guy got like just really shredded for the movie.
But he has a wicked sense of humor too.
Oh,
so
really? Definitely.
So
definitely.
I would like to be a fly on the wall between what you guys were talking about on set.
Very dry. Yeah, we had a lot of pretty funny conversations. Nothing I could probably repeat here, but but pretty,
he just at another junket he called a journalist a toilet, which is kind of apropos.
Oh, that's nice.
But
that's nice of him.
So I just wonder how
flowers come out of his mouth.
I just wonder doing a scene with him. That's to be fantastic. The other thing, I guess, is a silly question, but you have a fantastic sense of humor, even before that you've managed to make a career out of before you played this role. But I mean, does Deadpool ever, that sort of anarchic sense, ever leave? Because every time I read a tweet, even when you're not working on this, it's kind of like it feels like. I don't know if it's one and the same, or what would you say?
I would say that they're close. Deadpool's sort of like an alter ego for me. I can kind of turn it on and turn it off. But I do think in terms of that way, where I have a judge that's inside of me that edits what comes out. Deadpool does not have that judge or that editor. So I'll think of like, I think like, what's the worst thing I could say right now? And then there's this little judge that says, no, don't say that, don't do that. But with Deadpool, the judge gets to take a back seat and Deadpool gets to drive.
See, is this setup? I feel like your therapist. So what does a judge look like?
I know,
exactly?
right? I'll just be softly weeping over here.
They say that sort of the first guy on the call sheet is the one that sets the tone, and then this one you got of how the movie's done and how you behave on set. You got a bunch of new people working with you. What would they say about you if the truth?
I think that they would probably say I'm obsessed. Like I'm obsessed. It's a good thing.
In a good way?
In a good way, I'm obsessed, and I sort of, but I've spent most of my career as not the guy who's the first one on the call sheet, so you really see how it is. You want to see the guy who's first on the call sheet really needs to set the tone in terms of behavior and kindness. You want to see a guy that sort of spends as much time with the crew members as he does with his cast members, and that sort of thing. So I would say that everyone, and if you ask the rest of the cast, they'll say I'm a little obsessed.
All right, cool. That's not a bad thing, though. I wanted to know, one of the wonderful things about this movie is just when the notes are hit right, which happens a lot. It's like you think like there's no other way that this joke could have played. This is the way, but obviously movies are made in a very different way.
Yeah.
So I wonder, are you allowed to experiment? Because obviously you're in it, you have a plan, but how much of stuff you can sort of throw away and invent?
Oh man, that's what it is. It's a big sandbox. I mean, that's how we set it up. Everybody is welcome to play in that sandbox. I don't care if you're the sound engineer in the back, the grip, the craft service person. Everyone's allowed to play. Deadpool 1, one of my favorite moments of that movie is the Zamboni. Deadpool's driving this big ice Zamboni, and he's like chasing a guy, and it's a really funny scene. That came from our first AD. That came from Pete White, who said, what if Deadpool chased someone with a Zamboni? We're like, that's a great idea. There's an ice rink down the block. Let's see if we can get it. So I just say best idea wins, and that's, being number 1 or number 50 on the call sheet doesn't really make a difference if we're all trying to do the same thing.
Anything that came up in this one that got incorporated like that won't spoil anything?
Oh, there's a lot of weirdness that happened. There's definitely a lot of, some of the cameos in the movie were stuff that
which
was
we
just like,
won't
what?
talk about because they're like mind-blowing. All right, so pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. It was nice to see you again. Thank you.